I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside. It's so comfortable and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off-road. The guy managed the group. He was like, what are you doing in this beautiful car? I'm like, I'm going off-road. He's like, are you sure? Because you can use one of ours. And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
Capella University is rethinking higher education. With its game-changing FlexPath learning format, you can earn your degree on your schedule and fit your education seamlessly into your life. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show. Today on the James Altucher Show.
I used to joke on set. I'm like, guys, sorry, it's my stupid brain tumor. Totally kidding, not knowing that there was really a brain tumor in there. So I called up a few people. Wow, that gets me misty. I called up a few people in my life that meant a lot to me, and I told them, oof. And their reactions were beautiful because most people don't get to hear what they mean to people until they're gone, and maybe they're seeing it from above at their funeral. I got to hear what I meant to people while I was living, and the things that I heard were like mind-blowing to me, and things that I didn't even realize about myself.
I don't know how you did all the amazing things you've done. If I were to just introduce you, that would take up the whole hour of the show. So, like, Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight, Dateline, Today, Extra, Nightline. You've been an actress in a ton of stuff. Oh, yeah, I forgot to totally mention you're a professional wrestler.
Yes.
How could I forget that?
Don't mess with me.
Yeah, is it fake when you're wrestling?
No.
All right, that's all I needed to know on that.
You want to try? I'm kidding.
No, I'm 50 and I break easily.
Okay.
So, like, when do you switch over from striving for a certain degree of fame or success to switching that to striving for your own personal well-being, which is all we ultimately have?
I have to keep him in check. He's a gabber.
He's a what?
A gabber.
A gabber? But you guys are...
You got it. You spotted it. I haven't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, so we're rolling, and I haven't introduced you yet, but you've known each other for like 18, 19 years. You just got married.
Oh, 20 years.
20 years. You just got married, right? Steve Harvey did the officiating on New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask you about that. But Maria Menounos, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I have to, this is the one time I have to look at my notes because you're like, or you were, there's a lot of aspects to your story. We'll get to all of it, but you are and were, I'm going to say, like a walking Adderall. I don't know how you did all the amazing things you've done. If I were to just introduce you, that would take up the whole hour of the show. So, like, Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight, Dateline, Today, Extra, Nightline. You've been an actress in a ton of stuff. Your conversations with Maria, Sirius XM show, podcasts. you're CEO of AfterBuzz TV, which is tens of millions of downloads. I think you hit your billionth download a couple of years ago. It's a network of podcasts.
Yeah, it was a billion annually.
Yeah, it's a billion annually. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. So that's just to describe it. It's like podcasts about media and TV shows and so on.
It's like the ESPN of TV talk.
I like
Yeah.
that description.
Yeah.
And then, boom, you had a brain tumor or an operation for what looked like a brain tumor, a serious issue. It took you a while to recover. It kind of changed. You went through a transformation. You say in many interviews you slowed things down. You limited your social media. You reduced stress. It was kind of this life-changing experience and scary experience for you. But at the same time, you're still doing it. You do more than everyone else still. So I want to ask about that. And I don't know, did I introduce you okay? Like, what can I add to you at the introduction?
I don't know. I was getting a little dizzy. I was actually remembering when I did David Letterman and he made fun of my long resume, and that was like when I first started. So I think
Are you
now,
comparing me a little to David
Yes.
Letterman, or are you saying I'm ripping him off? So
yeah, no, it was funny. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely done a lot in my life and career, and I feel like I've had more time to reflect in this last year as I've been recovering, because it was in fact a brain tumor I had surgery for. So yeah, there's been a lot of time to look back at everything, and I kind of look at pictures and I look at, different things, and I'm like, wow, I've done a lot of cool stuff. I've done a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, there's
what does it? And we're going to get to many aspects of the story. And by the way, your Conversations with Maria is a great podcast series. You deal with really important issues like
Thanks.
dealing with self-doubt. It's really how to deal with relationship addiction.
Health
it's
and
a real lot of
wellness,
issues
yeah.
that kind of are the building blocks to success, really. People don't realize it's not, oh, who's your agent? It's how do you deal with these scary things inside of you that you have to battle every day so you can show up for success?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what your podcast and show is about. So I want to talk about those a little too. But how'd you I feel like everybody asked you to do everything, and at some point you said yes to everything, and then it catapulted everything. Like, how did it all get started?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely said no to things too, but the things I said no to were things that I didn't feel a connection to or I didn't believe in. So
Like
there
what?
were like major campaigns where people wanted me to represent something, and I'm like, well, I would never use it. And it would be like a 7-figure deal, and my husband would be like, you have too much integrity. And I was like, well, what if it gets people sick later? And like right now it's okay, but later it won't be. And so I definitely overthought things a lot because I was nervous and I'd rather play it safe than, whatever. But in terms of career, like TV and stuff, I was like, yes, I'll do it all. And I wanted to do it all from a young age. When I was growing up, I always wanted to do a lot of different things. And so I just did.
And I should mention, it's not just like celebrity gossip on these shows like Access Hollywood and Extra and E, but you've also been a serious journalist. You've been on the Today Show, and the same day you were on Nightline, almost as if you never sleep. You
In those days I wasn't.
you interviewed the only person to interview the entire Obama family at once. How'd you get that gig?
I had a secret weapon in that, and I'll tell you about it. I was working it was actually Nightly News with Brian Williams, and I had pitched a series to them called The Candidates' Kids, because at that time in 2008, there were a lot of candidates with kids that were around my age, and I was interested in learning about the candidate through their family. And so I started the series, and I think Sarah Huckabee was my first interview, and then Meghan McCain, and then I got the Romney boys. And when I had reached out to the Obama campaign, they said that the girls were too young, but they said, but keep us posted on who you get. So I knew there was like a slight open door. And so as I got more and more interviews, I then sent them, the footage just so they could see that it wasn't salacious or anything to be afraid of. It was very smartly done, but also just innocuous. It wasn't going to be something they should be concerned about. And one day I got the call from my boss at Access Hollywood. So at the time I was working for Access Hollywood, the Today Show, and Nightly News. And he said, we want you to go to Butte, Montana to interview Senator Obama because it was July 4th weekend. So it was just a few months before he was elected, and his wife, Michelle. And so Kevin and I got on a plane. It was like 3 flights to Butte, Montana. Went to Butte, Montana, and somehow we met the girls, and he took them on a tour of the mining museum that he had already seen because they had wanted to see it. And
Wait, Kevin, why did you go see the mining museum?
nerd.
Like I would think 3 flights, I'm just gonna sleep for a while. You just go to the mining museum.
Well, the event was at the mining museum. There's like a big park and stuff. So he's like, I'm gonna go check it out. And so that's why it was all part of the same area. And so the girls wanted to go, and he was like, I'll take them. So he took them on a tour with like probably the nanny, I think it was.
No, the Secret Service agent who was, her skill set was within taking care of children.
Oh, so it was a Secret Service agent who specializes in children. So she went along. And by the time he came back, I had started kind of feeling that maybe there might be something bigger happening here, and that maybe I might get the kids, that they had seen all of these stories and I had, laid the bricks down. And he comes back from the museum tour, and the girls are hanging on him, and they're like, Uncle Kevin, we want to see it again. And they're like hanging off his arms, and it was so cute. And I'm like, oh, I think I got an interview. And so, they jumped in on the interview, and I got the only interview with the Obama family, and it was massive, and definitely something that I regard as one of the highlights of my career.
Well, let me ask you this, because this is like sort of
That and WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, I forgot to totally mention you're a professional wrestler.
Yes.
How could I forget that?
Don't mess with me.
Yeah, is it fake when you're wrestling?
No.
All right, that's all I needed to know on
Not
that.
fake. It hurts.
So
You want to try? I'm kidding.
No, I'm 50 and I break easily.
Okay.
So what I want to know is, like, just in terms of interviewing, when you're interviewing like the Obama family, are you thinking like, okay, what can I get out of them as a family that no one else has gotten? Or are you thinking, what can I learn because I'm interviewing, these incredible people?
Mm-hmm. I think it's a combination. So whenever I sit to do an interview with somebody, my goal is to show a side of them that nobody knows. And I want to put them in the best light they can be in. So I never was somebody who was, mining for nasty things or anything like that. And so I wanted them to shine for whoever they were, right? I don't know until I sit down with them what I'm going to get. I do all my research and all my homework, and I know everything inside out. And then I just let the conversation flow. For example, I interviewed Rainn Wilson today on my SiriusXM show. And a lot of people don't know he does a lot of work in Haiti with his wife, and they educate young girls. And, he's got this incredible organization called, I think it was Soul Patch. I've already started to forget. But when we finished that interview, everyone was like, wow, I really like him. I didn't know anything about him. And that to me is like my biggest compliment. I take it as a compliment for me, even though the compliment is to him, because that means I did my job and I showed people who he really is full circle, not just him as an actor and a star and, someone who's in a big movie right now. And with the Obamas, for me, it was important to know who they were as a family behind the scenes, who they truly were, not the policies and all of that, because that's just something that I leave to other people. But I want to know who the people behind the policies are.
And so as a family, do you what was one parenting thing you saw where you were like, if and when I have kids, that seems like a good idea I'm going to do with my kids?
I don't know if it was parenting things. I remember being blown away at how real and normal they were. Like even my quick chat before we started with Michelle, they were talking about how they just paid off their student loans just 3 years before that. President Obama, or then Senator Obama, was rocking this old belt, an old brown belt, and the girls were making fun of him. And it was really adorable. And they just were so real and so normal. And at the time, just before that interview, they were being kind of positioned as elitists in the media, and people weren't reacting favorably to Michelle. And after that interview, people got to see a whole different side. And in fact, our competition at ABC, there was an article that had come out, and they heralded this interview as one of the top 5 defining moments that led to his election.
Wow.
Because I think it showed a different side of them.
Well, and you mentioned your husband, Kevin, your then boyfriend, now husband, Kevin.
My secret weapon.
Went with you. Did you go with her on all her trips? Like, did you guys travel together for every news event that she was doing?
He drove me everywhere.
Yeah.
Because I always worked so much. He would drive me places. He'd go to the nail salon with me. He'd go to things here and there, always hiding behind the scenes. But he's been very instrumental in my career, and he's worked so hard to help diversify me and push me to be my best self.
And after Buzz TV, you do together, which is a thriving business.
After Buzz TV, we co-founded because we love television. At the time, Breaking Bad and Jersey Shore were our like top favorite shows. We rock high low. And he's like, let's do a podcast. He's like, we don't do anything like, we don't have a hobby as a couple. Let's do this together. And after we did it, friends started wanting to do them. And so it just started to naturally grow from there. And yeah, we built a business where we're producing 150 hours of content a week. We're global, all over the world. And we have about 300 hosts. So our 2 goals with AfterBuzz, one is to create good content. So if you love TV and you love talking about TV, you will love AfterBuzz. And then 2, we're helping to shepherd the careers of young aspiring hosts who we can mentor and help grow. And we've had umpteen success stories that we've helped in various positions, whether they made it to Access Hollywood or CNN or Fox. We've had a lot of success stories, and we love being able to provide a healthy, sane, non-toxic, fun environment for them to grow in. Whereas, the business can be very rough, and I've encountered a lot of the roughness.
In what way?
So for them, just it's toxic, it's tough. And for me, it's important that we stop and we teach them. I've had people who wanted me to drown, and if I needed help or answers, they never gave them to me. And so I will pull our hosts aside and tell them what they're doing wrong, show them how to do it right, and then they can grow.
Can you give me an example, like when you were a host of a show and you were reaching your capacity in terms of your skill set at that time? Other people maybe didn't give you the right advice, and then you had to figure it out. Like, what's a skill set of a host that was hard for you to learn?
I think writing good packages was something that I was struggling with at times, and trying to figure that out.
What's a package?
A package is like, a 2-minute story you'd see on any show, whether it's the Today Show or Nightly News or any of that. I think I was underconfident in that area, and I had some bully bosses along the way in my career who, in various, broadcasting platforms that just didn't want to help. Or, for example, they it's just people who just want to knock you down, and they see a confident kind of
Why do they
bright
want to knock you
person,
down
and they want to
if-
extinguish that light for some reason.
But-
there are always political things that happen behind the scenes that you have no control over, that have nothing to do with you, that have to do with outside allegiances and bitter feuds between people, and the wrong person brought you in or hired you, and then everyone else has to hate you because they hate that person and stuff like that.
So
It's
people take
complicated.
sides, like teams.
Yeah, it's very high school. Very high school.
So you've had some extremely pivotal moments in your life in the past few years, but I kind of want to ask, like, you guys, you and your husband Kevin, you've been going out since you were like, what, 19 years old?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the secret of your success? I'm sure you've been asked this, so maybe this is like old hat for you to answer this, but
I don't know. We don't get that asked very much, to be honest. I think we're best friends. We trust each other, and we really love being with each other. Like, I feel like I want to be scotch taped to him.
I mean, that's so nice to say after 21 years. When was there a moment? What was the worst moment? Like, when were you like, please, Kevin, go in the other room. I need my moment.
I don't know. If you think of anything, honey, shout it out. But
Did you ever feel like, Kevin, you met because you're interested in filmmaking. You're both kind of in, I mean, you both are in media and you're doing AfterBuzz TV together and other things together. Were you ever competitive, particularly as she was skyrocketing in success?
Never. He's always been so supportive.
I've always been I never got that because it's your best friend and your partner. So you want them to succeed because that's your success. I loved it. I was always proud. Still am.
And what about you? Did you ever feel competitive with him in any way?
No, it's funny. We went to an event that I hosted the other day. There's a show on A&E called Born This Way. And the young girl with Down syndrome on the show wanted to explore the world of hosting. So she came to Kevin for advice and mentoring and coaching. And he was chatting with her. And of course, because we call Kevin the dream maker, he got into other areas of her life. And he found out that she was making T-shirts, tie-dye T-shirts in her basement with her mom. And if you see the photos, there's like hundreds of baskets in this basement. And they were just having such a hard time keeping up with the demand and, trying to really run a business. And so Kevin's like, all right, I got this. And he makes things happen so fast. So he put her in touch with a friend of ours who's a big clothing manufacturer who does all the Disney licenses and all of that. And Hello Kitty. And within seconds, this massive deal was put together. And this girl whose goal is to have financial independence now had her dream come true. And she had this great slogan. It was called Don't Limit Me. And all the sayings on the shirts have a real positive meaning. And so he made her dream come true. Like, he's the fairy godmother, but we'll call him the fairy godfather, actually. And I watched it, and it was so beautiful. We showed up at the event. I hosted it, where we unveiled the line like a week ago. And her brand is called Megology. And the girl just raced at our car, literally dove into his arms. And she's like, Kevin, my angel, my dream maker. And Kevin has helped like so many people. Like, it's impossible to count in his lifetime. And he's like a Hollywood priest. And so he's helped so many people. I have never seen anyone be more appreciative in my life. And this girl got it. She got the enormity of what he did. She appreciated it. And it was so special to see. And she kept calling me. She kept saying, and his wife. And I love Kevin and his wife too, of course. So I was relegated to just wife status, which was awesome because normally he's Mr. Menounos. So it was great for me to be the one in the back a little bit. And I loved seeing that. But we've never been competitive. No, if anything, he's competitive with me, for me. So,
they say there's a study where they analyze like 3,000 couples over 40 years, and they want to figure out, is it the couples who support each other during the hard times that stay together, or is it the couples who support each other during the good times that stay together? Because couples get competitive. It could be the case they get resentful of each other or whatever.
I can see that. That's hard.
It turns out by a huge margin, it's the couples that support each other during good times are the ones that stay together the longest.
Wow. Well, he was there in the bad times too. I mean, between my mom being diagnosed with brain cancer and me with my brain tumor, he never wavered, never left my side, and took such good care of me and my mom. He's taken care of all of us for so many years.
So let me ask this: like, you're running in your career 200 miles an hour, 1,000 miles an hour, faster than the speed of light, and two big things: your mom's stage 4 brain cancer, your brain tumor. I think for the first one, I heard you say, that was you started to slow down there and realize, oh, I need to spend time with mom instead of just doing the next segment of some show. But then your brain tumor, which was a little harder for you to get physically through, you really decided to take took a step back. What was, and again, I'm sure you've been asked about this a lot. We're gonna dive in, but what was the first things that told you needed to slow down, and what happened?
Well, I mean, you have no choice when you get dealt a brain tumor diagnosis. So when I found out I had my brain tumor, I knew I had to have surgery. And so...
Was it growing? Like, explain to me what happens with a brain tumor.
Yeah, meningiomas are really common in women. They're actually slow-growing tumors. And so we don't quite know when it started. He knows it's been there a long time. I think I know it's been there about 10 years. But it may have accelerated in growth with IVF treatments. I don't know, because it's hormone connected, and they're doing a lot of studies on that right now. So we knew we had to have surgery, and we know surgery on the brain is going to take quite some time to recover from. So there was really no choice. And honestly, I knew why it was happening. I knew it was God shutting it down for me, because I was never going to shut it down.
Well, why did you get the diagnosis? Like, were you feeling a lot of pain? Like, what was exactly happening?
Yeah, so my mom went down, and she had, we found out she had brain cancer, and she was super exhausted, like super, super exhausted. And we were running all these tests, and we were trying to eliminate everything it could be. And I was like, well, she's had a really rough life, and she's really worked so hard, and it's got to be that. And so...
Can I interrupt you there for a
Yeah.
second? Your parents met when they were janitors?
No, we were janitors, but no, they didn't meet being janitors.
Okay.
No, they became janitors.
They
together
became
in this
janitors
country.
afterwards. Janitors together stay together.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry for my interruption.
So anyway, I started feeling things, but I was going at the speed of light. So I never had time to feel anything. And anything I felt, I thought was stress. So I was lightheaded. I would get dizzy. My vision started kind of getting blurry. I was getting headaches. And, when you're busy, and for me, I don't like taking pills. So it was a rare moment, but if it was really bad, I'd pop some Tylenol, keep going, keep moving. And I thought after my mom got sick that anything I felt was stress, because I was under so much duress. I was my mom's quarterback. I was in charge of everything for her healthcare. And there were a lot of really massive decisions that were on my shoulders. And if it went wrong, everyone was going to look at me and say, that was your fault. So it was very, very difficult, pretty excruciating actually. And so I thought it was stress. And then I started getting ear pain. So in January, I thought I had an ear infection. It went away at some point, because the symptoms can come and go. Depends on, I think, like if the tumor's aggravated, let's say, and it's pushing on a nerve of some sort. Maybe it's not pushing that day. So in February, I finally decided I'm going to the doctor. And I went to see this new doctor. His name is Dr. Aaronin at UCLA. And I said, I have an ear infection. I think I had one in January too, but my body healed itself and it's back. And
Why did you think your body healed itself?
Because I had assumed that was the only explanation, because it went away.
Okay.
And so he checked my ear and he said, you don't have an ear infection. What else are you feeling? I was like, well, since you asked, my vision's kind of blurry. I'm getting these nasty headaches. Oh, actually, my ear's been hurting for a long time. My speech is slurring. And then it hit
Not
me.
good for a TV host.
And I had never done that before. And I used to joke on set. I'm like, guys, sorry, it's my stupid brain tumor. Totally kidding, not knowing that there was really a brain tumor in there. And so finally I said to him, I said, oh my God, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, because we females think we have to preface everything with, I know you're going to think I'm crazy, which we now must replace with, I am wise, as a nice mystic told me. But I think I have a brain tumor like my mom. And he said, I don't think you're crazy, because he was one of the good ones. And he said, but I don't like the symptoms you're telling me. Let's get an MRI. And so we ended up getting an MRI, and I found out I had a brain tumor.
And he tells you have the brain tumor. What's your very first reaction? Given that you have a lot of experience dealing with brain tumors because of your mom.
Well, at that time, we had found out that my mom's brain tumor, the doctor said hers was growing, which when you have glioblastoma, like my mom, it's the worst kind of cancer you could ever have. It's the deadliest cancer. And when they tell you your tumor is growing, it's a freight train that isn't stopping, and you're a goner. And so we were really scared, and I was reaching out to different universities and different institutions to get their opinions. And I decided to treat it in a different way. So the side effects of chemo mirror the symptoms of regrowth. When you get an MRI, they can't tell you what's on that MRI officially until they biopsy or do surgery and actually go in and test. It could be inflammation, it could be radiation damage, it could be so many different things. So I took a risk, another one, and I took her to Mexico to a facility I had pre-researched and pre-visited in case something like this was necessary someday down the road. And I instructed them to detox her off of the chemo and fortify her with vitamins and supplements and things like that.
I'm just trying to understand, what does it mean to detox off chemotherapy?
So when chemo is built up in your system, it can give you those symptoms that look like regrowth, right? So I said, let's just detox her. Let's clean her system out, colonics and, coffee enemas and all these things. And at the day we moved my parents into their apartment in Mexico, I had just finished putting everything away from them, setting it up. Now at this time, my dad is literally a shell of a man. He's exhausted. He's terrified his wife is about to die. It was an awful time. Then I get the call while we're there. Kevin had gone out to the convenience store and I get the call and the doctor says, I hate to tell you this after everything you've gone through, but you have a brain tumor too. You were right. And so I had my iPad out and I just started taking notes. I'm like, okay, what kind is it? And he's like, a meningioma. I'm like, okay, great. Yep. And he's like, you need to see your neurologist right away. And I'm like, okay. And so I hung up the phone and I was like, oh shit, this is crazy. And I texted my best friend and I said, we've been best friends since 7th grade. I said, I have a brain tumor, but I can't talk right now. I got to pee. And then when Kevin gets back, I got to tell him first and then I'll call you. She still hates me to this day over that. So Kevin showed up and I said, I have bad news and we need to go outside because my parents were inside and I couldn't let them know because they were so devastated and scared. Now I couldn't compound that with my news. So we went out to this parking lot and I literally turned the camera on instantly because I document everything and I knew this was a moment I wanted to remember. And I said, so I have a brain tumor. And Kevin's head just goes down. And I'm like, what are we going to do? And the sickest part of it was that my first reaction was, no one's ever going to want to work with me again.
Why did you think that?
Because I thought I was a liability, health-wise. And so I called my lawyer instantly. He was like my brother. And I told him, and he was like, I know that you like to be honest and tell everybody everything. Keep this one close to the vest for now. Let's wait till you get on the other side. I was like, okay. And then I looked at Kevin. I'm like, we can't tell my parents, can we? And he's like, no, we can't. I'm like, okay. So then I called my neurosurgeon's office, Dr. Black, who was my mom's at the time. And I scheduled an appointment. And they're like, it's for your mom, right? And I go, nope. And that was the beginning of the journey.
You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So, I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get two memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply.
I created this idea called Generation W. It's all about educating, inspiring, connecting women. And it's about building community at the same time. It's not like women are on some outpost somewhere, right? Just like no ethnic people are on some outpost there. People of color, right? We're all together. So if we learn how to appreciate each other, we elevate one, we elevate us all. And so for the first year, that's where we started. And we had 700 people show up. They had no idea what they were showing up to, but they loved it. And they said, we want more.
So at that point, you start planning your surgery.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the anticipation of surgery is scarier than the aftermath, because there's a lot of uncertainty. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to... First off, you don't know whether you're going to live or die.
Yeah.
You don't know how it's going to change your appearance. You don't know how it's going to change your physical abilities.
Well, for me, it was actually really scary because the tumor was pressing on a nerve that controls the whole right side of my face. So it was a very dangerous and complicated surgery where there was a very good chance that I was going to have paralysis and all kinds of defects on my face. And so, Dr. Black had to lay it all out for me. And I'm like, well, I'm in good hands with you and I have to have faith and we'll deal with the rest.
Now, maybe this didn't happen, but with all this going on, you were the advocate for your mom. You're helping her. then you dealing with this, you and Kevin dealing with this, you scheduling the surgery. Now you're talking about it somewhat calmly, but at what point beforehand did you cry?
I didn't cry.
Never?
I'll tell you when I did cry. So I didn't cry initially or anything like that. I was just cracking jokes. Like even when I saw Dr. Black, I was like, hey, you see this mother-daughter tumor thing often? And he goes, nope.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny. And so I didn't cry. My thing was I was in protect mode for my parents. And I also knew that everyone around me had just dealt with enough at that point. And I wanted, in a sense, to lighten the journey for all of us because we were pretty sure mine was benign. Dr. Black's like, I'm pretty sure I've been fooled before, so I can't guarantee it, but it looks benign. And just that made me feel comfortable because I was like, there could be so much worse right now. It could be cancer.
But even taking out the benign tumor where it was contained so many
Yeah,
risks.
well, that was the other question. I said, so surely my surgery is going to be much easier, right? And he goes, nope. He's like, it's actually much, much more complicated. And so I was like, damn.
Why is it more complicated?
Because of the nerve it was wrapped around, the trigeminal nerve and where it was placed. It was really tricky enough where he couldn't get the whole thing out because he would have damaged me if he did. So I didn't cry at all until I started to tell people. So the week before surgery, my therapist was like, this isn't even real to you. You have to tell the people that are closest to you. So I called up a few people. Wow, that gets me misty. I called up a few people in my life that meant a lot to me. And I told them, oof. And their reactions were beautiful because most people don't get to hear what they mean to people until they're gone. And maybe they're seeing it from above at their funeral. I got to hear what I meant to people while I was living. And the things that I heard were like mind-blowing to me and things that I didn't even realize about myself. So I learned a lot about myself in that moment. I learned a lot about the relationships I've made and the impact I've had.
Can you give me an example?
Oh gosh. Gosh, I honestly, I don't know if I can truly put it into words right now. But other than to say, that it moved me. I mean, honey, you might remember, you're my USB. I can't remember anything right now other than the feeling.
I don't ever remember you crying.
I cried then. That's it. Like when I told Vin, I cried. When I told Wilmer, I cried. When I told,
I wasn't there for those.
Yeah. Because I think for me, it was me having to be vulnerable, right? And I'm not used to being vulnerable. And it was more like, I felt like it was just weird to like have to call people and say, hey guys, I don't want you to feel bad or anything. Like, no worry. But like, I have a brain tumor and I have brain surgery and you're important enough in my life where I need to tell you this before. And, like Tony Robbins was one of them. He's a good friend of mine. And I knew because he's gone through this that he would have an interesting perspective and be helpful. And, he was urging me to get all these other opinions and he was great. But,
did you get other opinions?
Yeah. One said,
because you've also been on you also advocate people getting other opinions.
Yeah, you
since
have
then.
to. Yeah, someone said the potential pitfalls of this surgery could be catastrophic, and then went on to say some suggestions for them, and I was like, whoa, that was pretty dramatic, and it was one of the biggest institutions in the world. So that was a little scary for a minute, but I knew I was in the best hands with Dr. Black.
But how do you
and
deal
I felt
with
safe with him?
Given that given the uncertainty, which always leads to fear, and given the reality, which in this case should lead to fear, how did you personally, on a daily basis, while you're kind of holding up the world, it sounds like, how did you deal with the fear so you could function?
I went to work, and then at some point, I think it was like 2 weeks before surgery, the head of the network at NBC, Francis Berwick, was very kind and said, what do you need? And I was like, I don't know. I never thought about that. And she was like, wait, what are we even talking about? Don't come back to work. Just go do your thing. Come back when you're ready. And, we can talk about all that later.
Well, maybe
but
work was like distracting you. Maybe it was a good thing.
it was a good thing, but I was in a lot of pain and I was suffering and I didn't know. I just didn't know. I thought it was because I was stressed, and I would never say I need time off of work because I'm stressed taking care of my mom. So I had to, as most of us do, suck it up, toughen up, and keep fighting. And so when she said, you have 2 weeks before surgery, just stay home and get prepared. I want you in the right mindset. And I thought that was really amazing of her because I didn't even know I needed that. And I did. And before surgery, my husband and I went to this place in Arizona called Miraval. It was really, really amazing because I had just gotten the diagnosis and my 2 best friends came with us. And we got to process it together, go through all these different therapies and sessions with healers and such. And it really set me up for success. It was really game-changing. And yeah, there were moments where I was scared. And I would feel like a Mack truck hit me in the chest. We'd be watching a TV show and I would hit pause and be like, am I really having major brain surgery next week? Is someone really going to saw my head open? This is crazy. And Kevin was so good because he was like, yeah, but you're going to be fine. It's going to be good. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then we'd hit play again. And then I teared up a little in the hospital, but it wasn't about the surgery as much as I was really nervous about the catheter and doctors seeing me naked. I'm like, I'll never look at Dr. Black again in the eye if he's seen me naked. Please shield me. I just am so shy and embarrassed. And so I shed a tear with the nurse. I'm like, you'll protect me, right? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, thank you.
And so tell me about, just because I'm trying to picture it, this is a naive question, but how big was the brain tumor?
It was like the size of a golf ball.
That's pretty big.
I would say,
could you see
close
it?
to a golf ball.
Could you see it from looking at the?
MRI? Oh yeah.
No, but just physically, could you see it? Like a golf ball?
No, it's inside your head. It's in your brain.
Yeah, but doesn't it push your brain out a little bit?
No, luckily I don't think it pushed anything out.
So size of a golf ball. By the way, I just as a stupid tangent, but I hate everything about golf. I feel like the only reason they should have ever invented a golf ball is just so you could say a tumor was the size of a golf ball. Just like a grapefruit. Oh, this tumor's the size of a grapefruit, a fruit that nobody ever eats.
Yeah.
But anyway, you are going in for surgery.
Mm-hmm.
You've equipped yourself with, techniques for dealing with the fear and the uncertainty. You had a support system around you, but still, you open your eyes after surgery. Do you move your toes? Do you blink your eyes? What's the first thing you did?
That was tough. So our rule was comedy must rule in our house, and that's how we got through it. Went into surgery playing Rocky, had my theme song, and
not Xanadu?
no. And it was crazy because I did wake up at some point, and Kevin was filming me, and I think my first thing I said was, it was actually the Rocky Balboa quote. It ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, which was cool. But the sad thing was they all started freaking out because my eyes were going all over the place. Literally, they were going back and forth like crazy. And, they were all
Did you
distraught.
feel that happening?
I didn't feel it. I don't remember being able to open my eyes easily. It was and maybe I didn't notice it necessarily, but these guys were distraught and freaking out and crying.
Your first awareness that something might be off was watching their reactions.
Yeah, but I'm so out of it, so I wasn't really grasping it. I was more concerned because there was a woman crying and screaming next door. You're in the recovery room, so there's just a curtain. And I kept saying, honey, go help her. We're on a plane, and if I see someone that needs help, I'm like, honey, will you help her? Go help her. Go help him, whatever. I deploy my angel.
You're on a lot of missions for her.
Yeah. And so I think he's sleeping. Oh, yeah, perfect. And so I normally deploy him. But in this moment, I kept hearing this woman screaming, and it was freaking me out. I'm like, honey, go help her, because I'm so used to doing that. And he was like, shut it down. She is too aware. We need to knock her out. So he put an eye patch on my eyes, headphones on my ears. They doped me up. And I remember waking up in my hospital room. And it was scary because they didn't know when my eyes would be normal. So Dr. Black was like, we're going to give you an eye patch, because there was one eye I was seeing triple out of, double and triple. And he brought me an eye patch. And instantly I'm like, oh gosh, okay, how do we make lemonade? Okay, yep, I'm going to create a superhero character. And so I started designing these like crazy like thigh-high boots that I would wear, and I was going to
An eye
bedazzle
patch.
my eye patch, and I was going to have an alter ego.
What
And
will be your powers?
I didn't get that far, but you know, it was going to be fierce. And luckily, I think it was probably the next day, I got the strength to tell Kevin to bring my friend Vicky, who's a holistic healer, to the hospital. And she did acupuncture on me and reflexology. And when she was done, 2 hours later, I was completely healed.
Wow. So after she finished,
Yeah, my vision went back to normal.
and you know, were there I mean, there were later problems though. That was just the first.
Yeah, I mean, I had to use a walker for a while because it also was, it affected my balance nerve.
Why
So I
is that?
didn't have-
So okay. So there's this golf ball there, and it's obviously it's
Wrapped around different things, and tumor was growing into different areas. And so,
and they can't like cut the nerves around it to just take it
oh,
out.
hell no, you don't
'Cause
want
then-
that.
Yeah. So what do they do? Do they push it through the nerves, or like how do they do?
They gently
I've been training to be a
tease it.
doctor, so I want to know how to do this.
Yeah, they gently tease it away from the nerves. And so that's why you'll have some residual deficits,
Because
right?
some of the nerves have been stretched out.
or messed with a little bit so
Mm-hmm.
that they could get the tumor away.
Do nerves generally, when they're stretched out, kind of go back to normal?
Well, I don't know if stretched out is the word, and I don't know anything more than they don't know, because it's the brain. They don't know what's going to happen, you know? So you kind of just, you let your body heal and recover and hope everything will go back. And so eventually I went from walker to Kevin's arm, and then from there was able to walk on my own, but still a little rickety. It takes
Was there
time.
always progress, or was there ever a point where
Yeah.
you're like, you know, I don't know what's happening? It's like flatlined the progress.
I feel like it wasn't flatlining, but probably around week 5, like they tell you like 4 to 6 weeks and you can be normal again. And I'm like, 4 to 6 weeks? Like I was still a hot mess, but it's individual. And that's the thing that I think is really important to get out to people, is that everyone's body is different and everyone's recovery is going to be different, and everyone's put different gas in their cars, right? Like if we're going to look at ourselves like a car, everyone's either beat the shit out of their car or they treated their car like gold. They waxed everything and they treated it gingerly, or they treated it like crazy. And so I was a crazy workaholic. I did the best that I could fuel wise. Definitely put some poor gas in there sometimes, but you know, everyone's body's different. So for me, I was starting to get frustrated, and Kate Walsh is a friend of mine. She came to visit me, and she confided in me at that time that she had a brain tumor and had it removed as well from Dr. Black.
Wow.
And she came and she gave me advice, and she's like, girl, she's like, this is going to take you a year. Get ready, enjoy your time off, and get better. And when she said that, there was relief, because still at that point, I was thinking of like goals, like, okay, 4 to 6 weeks, I can go back to work. I can do this. I can do that. And so that's when I kind of really surrendered. And I was like, oh, this is more of a journey, and I'm going to go on this journey.
And you know, as you've mentioned, and many people think about in these moments, you know, you only get one shot at this life. It's not like, you know, oh, my goal in life, my legacy is to be the host of this one TV show forever,
Yeah.
75 hours a week. Like, when do you switch over from striving for a certain degree of fame or success to switching that to striving for your own personal well-being, which is all we ultimately have?
Great question. I think for me, going through 2 brain tumors in a matter of months was enough for me to surrender everything and say, I really don't care anymore. My health and my happiness are paramount now, and everything else comes after. And I really just wanted to heal from so many things in life. I think that these things are opportunities to grow. Problems are opportunities to grow. And I did see this as a rebirth. I had surgery on my birthday, and I knew that this was sent to me so that I could make changes that I could then share with people, because I'm a communicator and I have a platform and I have a voice. And so I wanted to share that with with people, and especially women, because, I feel like technology's really made things so easy in some ways and then really difficult in others. And we're all so type A and overly working and we've become human doings. I said this yesterday at a conference. I'm like, we went from human beings to human doings. And we don't realize why everyone has so much anxiety and so much stress and so much anger and frustration and all of this. And we just have to pull back. And I've seen myself be able to acquire a lot of knowledge in this time, a lot of new perspective, a lot of new tools that I can employ when I do get busy that help me. So instead of revving high when I'm stressed and just being like, no, I gotta power through and I gotta get it done. Now I'm like, no, I gotta take 5 minutes. And I take 5 minutes and I calm down and I make a better choice. And so it's been important for me to surrender to all of this at any cost, financially, career-wise, because I knew what needed to be done and what was to come.
What was the biggest career sacrifice you made post-surgery, post these events?
I think it was taking the time off and saying no and saying yes to me, which I really want to help women be able to say to themselves.
Do you think, I feel like a lot of your early career was about fame, not necessarily you becoming more famous, although you did, but also a lot of your job was interviewing celebrities who were famous. So you were exposed constantly to people who judged their success metric was in some ways how famous they were. And maybe that even bled a little into your own metric of success. How do you think now your opinion or relationship to the concept of fame has changed since before?
So I don't know, because I think for me, it was always kind of conquering new things and adding more feathers to the cap. Yeah, I did it, right? I wrestled at WrestleMania, or I did Dancing with the Stars, and oh my God, I
forgot to say that in the intro, Dancing with the
Perfect
Stars.
10s, and I never danced a day in my life. And for me, it's always getting to do things that I never thought I would get to do. And so I never looked at it from a fame perspective. I looked at it as opportunities to just live and explore and try things and have fun. And so
what did you give yourself permission to do in terms of fun or happiness or well-being that afterwards that you wouldn't have necessarily given yourself permission for before, other than saying, okay, I'm not going to do this job or this or that or whatever?
Yeah, I think
what's a new yes for you?
I think a new yes for me is something that's purposeful or pure fun. And
what's an example?
Whereas I would have made a choice to do something if it was, let's say, good for the career. It's oh, this is a healthy career thing to do. And, I don't love it, but yeah, I'm going to do it because of this. Now I'm saying no to most things, and I'm realizing how much happier I am because I'm only doing the things that I really, really love, that are really making me tick, with the people I really love to be around. And it's keeping me in a state of joy constantly. I go to Live with Kelly and I cry. I love them so much and I have so much fun there. My ambassador program that I have with Rally Health, I work with them and they make me my best. I want to be around people who bring out the best in me and who allow me to be me. Whereas before, in different aspects of my career, I was handcuffed to who they wanted me to be, what they wanted to think of me, and just a lot of negative forces. And now I don't care what you have to offer. If you are of that ilk, I don't want to be around you.
So it's interesting. It's almost like beforehand you were wearing this suit of armor that was your career, and that's how people would only see you in this suit of armor.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say yes to the things that made this armor around you look good, that would improve the career. But the armor was gone, and now you're saying yes specifically to the things that make you feel good and better about who you're with, the time you're spending, the time you're relaxing. When's the last time you binge watched 4 straight hours of TV?
Oh, now all the time. Now my life is so different. That's why I'm happy. I didn't know this happy existed. I thought I was happy and never knew I wasn't. And so
is it simply a
for
matter of
me,
like finding time for you, or?
it's finding time for you. And I recognize that I'm at a place in my career where I can also rest on the fact that I've built a brand and a name. So I don't want to discourage young people from hustling and working hard. But for them, I'm always like, but find those ways to rejuvenate you and take care of you emotionally, physically, spiritually, all of the package, not just, okay, I eat okay and I work out and whatever. There's so much more to it.
And would you say, like all those things that you just listed, I think a lot of people think, okay, those come second. After the career, then I'm going to work on the health and spiritual well-being and creativity and artistry. But to some extent, how much do you think success actually is a byproduct of focusing on those things first? So to young people who are like, well, should I stop hustling? Maybe it's the case that it's not that you stop hustling, it's that you focus on these things so you can succeed.
Yeah, it's hard because the wrong people will hear this and be like, and they'll be the ones who are lazy, who don't want to work, and be like, see, I don't have to do anything. But the right people who understand the message will say, okay, I am a workaholic, or I'm working really, really hard for someone who isn't appreciating me. And I need to figure out a way to appreciate me and make that enough, or I need to find something else, or I need to find that time to rejuvenate on the weekend or meditate or do things that are going to enrich me and my happiness while I'm waiting for that next step. So it's difficult to do like a one size fits all advice because everybody's at a different place in their lives and in their careers. I just know for me, my mental health, my emotional health, everything is worth so much more to me than a job or a career or anything anymore, because I know how close I was to not having any of it anymore. So now I've redefined success to myself. Success isn't me chasing after, a dream to be, in my own private jet someday and have, incredible wealth or any of that. To me, success is doing the things that I truly love, that truly fill my cup and make me happy, and focusing on my health and sharing that message with people, and especially women, that without your health, you really are nothing. And we never listen to that until it's too late. Focusing on our health is what I'm saying when I say, pay attention to these other things just as much as your career. Attack your health with the same ferocity that you attack your career, because it's that important, because you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, if you're sick in bed, you're not going to have a great career.
No.
It's going to be harder.
No. And I watch people who are driving themselves to that grave, and it's not maybe necessarily a grave, it's to the diagnosis or whatever. I'm watching people completely make poor choices health-wise, food-wise, spiritual, everything, just going down this road that I was going down and didn't even realize, and now I see it so clearly. And it's sad because we're not valuing ourselves enough.
And I feel like the word ourselves is very complicated because there's no one self. There's like physical self. There's to create your true loves. There's the creative side of you. And if you're just going from like job to job to job, interview to interview to interview, Dancing with the Stars, wrestling, this, that, when it's sort of like you don't really know, you don't have the time to explore your individual creativity that might have nothing to do with the mass media you've been building your career in. Like, did you find any kind of creative outlets afterwards that were just discoveries to you? Like, oh my gosh, I love origami or whatever.
I started playing guitar. Yeah. A friend of mine came to visit me during recovery, and he was teaching me guitar, and he thought I had something special there and was like, you need to do this. And so I took up guitar a couple times a week, and I don't let anyone mess with my sessions. I don't schedule any work things instead of my guitar classes. I really am religious about it. The only time I don't do it is when I'm out of state, obviously, like this.
And when you're doing it, that gives you super pleasure, right?
Oh my God, I love it.
It's funny because sometimes I feel overwhelmed with all different activities that I do. And there's one activity in particular that I really love, where we're actually sitting in my comedy club, and I love doing stand-up comedy. And I was thinking, boy, that's the one thing I can easily drop because it has nothing to do with my career. But I made the actual opposite decision,
Good.
which is that is the only thing I won't drop,
Yes.
no matter how stressed. Because the whole main thing
It's the only thing probably that makes you fully feel your like self because
Right.
that's who you are.
and then so many other attributes of yourself come out when you do the things you love. You kind of meta learn how to learn all these other skills that are related to your career and money and so on. So, Maria Menounos, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I hate, it's a horrible story, but an inspiring story.
Thank you.
And it's like, by the way, after your surgery, it was then you finally, after a 19-year relationship with your
Yes.
boyfriend, you got married. Was it related to you coming out of the brain tumor that you got decided, hey, let's get married?
Well, you know what? Definitely when you see someone take care of you the way that Kevin took care of me, you get so gushy and you're so vulnerable. And I'm like, let's just get married and have babies now. And he's like, well, why don't we let your head heal first before babies? And he's like, we should do the marriage thing. And I started working on this show for Fox New Year's Eve. I was hosting and they suggested it and we did it. And it was just one of those things where, you know, Kris Jenner actually said it. She goes, tomorrow is never promised. And my mom was sick and we just didn't know what was going to happen at that time. And we decided to just do it and surprise them. And we had the best time.
Well, congratulations on that. All of your successes. Again, I'm jealous you guys created AfterBuzz TV and I didn't. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And your ongoing health and everything else. It's such a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you. And download Conversations with Maria Menounos, the podcast. Actually,
so many great podcasts.
Subscribe.
We didn't get to that, but I encourage people to listen to those. There are so many great topics you cover
Thank you.
that are really building blocks to success and happiness and well-being. I encourage everybody to listen to Conversations with Maria. And I just had a conversation with Maria, so thank you.
Thank you. This was great. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I created this idea called Generation W. It's all about educating, inspiring, connecting women. And it's about building community at the same time. It's not like women are on some outpost somewhere, right? Just like no ethnic people are on some outpost there. People of color, right? We're all together. So if we learn how to appreciate each other, we elevate one, we elevate us all. And so for the first year, that's where we started. And we had 700 people show up. They had no idea what they were showing up to, but they loved it. And they said, we want more.